from onshaw.net, where I answer questions from Irish primary school teachers about technology in education. I've got a question around iPads and which iPad should a school buy, and I have to say, to be honest, you're not looking at the biggest fan of iPads in education. You'll have to look further afield for that. But I will try and leave my biases at the door here. I haven't. I did. I have to say, I have an iPad at one point. I had the first iPad. I bought it when I was in America. Coincidentally, I was in America at the time it came out. I promise I didn't go to America just to buy it, but I haven't really had one since. I don't own one, and I really, to be honest, don't miss it. I'm quite happy without a tablet. However, if you are so inclined to get an iPad, I've done my research and it looks like you have a lot of choice. Back in my day, you had an iPad. Now you have iPads in all sorts of flavors, all sorts of sizes, all sorts of capacity, all sorts of everything. You get giant iPads, and you can get really teeny mini iPads, and then normal iPads, and all sorts of kind of different shapes, and they come in different types of space. I mean, and then they have names like iPad Air now and iPad Mini and so on and so forth, and that's okay. You can buy them new, but you also buy them refurbished. You don't actually have to even buy them new. There's a couple of companies that sell refurbished iPads, older models a little bit cheaper than if you were to buy them new. Green IT will be one, but even Apple themselves have their own sort of refurbished scheme as well, which kind of is fine as well. So before you buy any device, you have to decide what you actually want to do with it. Before you even go ahead and buy it, just figure out what you're going to do with them, and figure out, the other extras that you'll need to do. How are you going to connect them up to your projectors if you want to? How are you going to charge them if you want to? How are you going to store them? How are you going to make sure they don't smash if you drop them on the floor, which inevitably a 4-year-old will do? So just all those questions, which will cost a little bit more, and just make sure you know that. But anyway, I digress. Really, I think the most important thing if you are buying an iPad is size matters. And from my limited experience of tablets, and I've tried them out a little bit in the school, I noticed that really mini iPads don't really work that well. You really need a minimum of your average size iPad, for most tasks. The mini ones are grand for playing and watching media and consuming, whereas if you want to do anything particularly interesting, that screen just needs to be a little bit bigger. I make sure you kind of do that. A normal is probably fine, because you're probably going to be using for ebooks. Again, the mini iPads are just a little bit too small to read from in a classroom context, certainly for children. I probably fine for holiday reading and all that kind of stuff, but certainly in a school context, you're only saving 50-60 euro anyway, so I wouldn't shave a few euro to get a kind of an iPad that's too small. I think the iPad Pro, which is the giant one, it's going to be outside of any school's possible budget. So while it's lovely, it's probably not going to be in your budget, so I'm not even going to go there. You should really you should also think about the lifespan of your iPad. Really, I suppose that's the next thing. A new iPad, I don't know. People will say they have many years out of them, but really in a school context, you're going to get up to 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years tops, in order to for that iPad. So if you buy an older iPad, so a year older, you'll get 2, 3, or 4 years. So the older they are, the less amount of time you're going to get from them. So if you buy a very old iPad, like an iPad 2, you might get a year out of it. If you get an iPad 3, you might get 2 years out of it, and so on. Sorry, I'm talking for 2018 context here. They seem to bring out iPads every 6 months, new ones. So again, you'll just look at the model and just say, look, I'm going to have this for X number of years, depending on the model. Next is size, and the capacity. Apple have this funny thing of providing 16 gigabyte, 32 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte models of hard disk space, and charging mad prices the higher you go. Ultimately, as schools, we really don't need to store a lot of information, because most information can be stored in the cloud these days, particularly if you have a wireless connection, wireless setup. And actually, I should have mentioned earlier on, if you're going to buy iPads, make sure you have a brilliant Wi-Fi setup. It's very, very important. They're pretty much unusable without Wi-Fi. But once you have that in place, I mean, I think a 16 or a 32 gig model is perfectly fine for any school. I struggle to fill my any iPad I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone running out of space. So I think 16 or 32 gigs will do the job. I suppose finally, I mean, as I said, I'm no expert in this. There are just a few thoughts that have run through my head while I'm outside in this lovely summer evening here in Ireland in the middle of a heat wave. There is a fantastic website though that I did find where I got pretty much all my information. So it's on Apple's page itself. It's apple.com/ie/iPad/compare, and that will compare all the iPads for you, what they do, what they don't do, and all that sort of stuff. Well worth reading reviews of those of different iPads as well from people who know a lot more than I do. I hope that all helps, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.